over here, Craig.
Hello.
Hey, Craig.
Craig is the gentleman that designs the. Oh, now I'm drawing a blank. What do you call those things again?
Oxygen systems for commercial aircraft. Both the crew and the passenger here. This when you see this drop.
Cool.
Oh.
Is that the chemical ones where it has a container that the pin gets pulled and it generates oxygen?
It really depends on the airplane. We do both. We have chemical and gaseous. The chemical ones are the most common.
Okay.
So, Kerry, what got you into ferry flying?
Well, that was one of the first jobs I wanted to have. I met a guy in my National Guard unit, a fellow helicopter crew chief. I was a Huey crew chief back in a previous life. And his father owned that company that delivered airplanes, and he told me about doing it, flying all over the world, delivering planes before I even had a license. I said, well, that sounds really cool. So I got my license, started flying skydivers, trying to, built up enough time to get a job. He said you needed about 1,500 hours to get hired on as a ferry pilot, and got a job.
Wow.
Originally, I figured it was just going to be a stepping stone to the airlines. I figured I eventually want to go fly the big jets, but then I realized that flying jets is incredibly boring and didn't want to do it.
There we go. I've got it shared on Twitter, the live stream link.
Okay.
So if you want to pop through that and retweet it or whatever you wish. And like I said before, once we're done this here, once Google has uploaded it and done whatever it wants to it, I'll send the link back out again so they can watch the show afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, Craig, do you have any questions?
Well, what do you guys do?
All right, Craig, go first.
Yeah, well, like I said, I design oxygen systems for commercial aircraft, both crew and passenger, as well as the portable walk-arounds you see, which are primarily first aid units. And I'm out here on the West Coast, right by Boeing's factory, so convenient enough. And actually, this week is good and bad week, depending on how you look at it. The president's coming here on Tuesday, so it's going to screw up all the traffic. But for the last week, there's been a couple of Ospreys and Marine Ones at the airport. So been watching those fly back and forth.
Nice.
Cool.
Me, I just have a boring job working on computers, and aviation is sort of just a little side hobby of mine. I do a lot of simulation work in that, but no real flying, just 1,000 hours wasted doing that.
Well, that's a lot of fun. See the flight sim stuff, some of that?
Yeah. Almost 1,000 hours in that bloody thing.
Really? Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, Brad was sort of having fun with me on that one. He's like, why don't you just learn to fly for real? I'm like, I can't afford it.
Yeah, it's getting crazy expensive. I rarely fly for fun anymore because it's just too expensive. I've got a 1960 Beech Queen Air, which is a piston engine version of the King Air. Big plane, really fun. Burns lots of gas though. So.
Wasn't that the one you had your daughter fly before you went on the trip with her?
Yeah. She's flown that a fair amount, and my son too. I've got a son, Connor. He's 17, and he likes to fly as well, skydive and
all that crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky though. I get to fly lots of really cool planes, lots of interesting stuff. and that pretty much scratches my itch for flying. This week I'm going to go down to Texas to pick up a Super Caravan. It's a Grand Caravan with the 900 horsepower engine in it,
Oh,
and fly that back up to Wisconsin for the skydiving season. So
Nice.
yeah, I was just rewatching a bit of the last couple episodes of season one when you and Stu were flying the Cirrus. And I was watching that when he got out of Pakistan, he just looked like death warmed over on that one.
that was brutal, man. Sitting next to him I felt so bad for him because he was in pain, but there was nowhere to go. I mean, we're off the coast of Iran, and we're not going to go popping in there. So I'm just glad I wasn't sick because we ate at the same place. We ate at the hotel, big buffet, and he must have picked the wrong dish or something, but.
The water bug didn't get you though.
No. That was fun. That's what he thought most unfair. That I ate a bug, I didn't get sick. All he did was eat at the Marriott, and he got sick. Well, when we landed in Fujairah, United Arab Emirates, I went running into the FBO, made sure there was a bathroom there, so he was going the right direction. I guided him in, shot him in there, and the noises that came out of that were really disturbing. Out of both ends, that poor guy, I thought he was going to die in there.
Oh man, when he's trying to land, he had to, at one point I think he was just telling you to shush, shush, shush. And you see the look of frustration starting to brew on his face.
Yeah, he gets really flustered, and it looks like see they cut out so much of the show, so you don't really see the whole thing. He doesn't have actually a lot of time flying planes. He's a helicopter.
1,000 hours or something like that.
Yeah, well at the time he had 800 total hours, and less than half of it was in airplanes. And
Yeah, because he's probably.
yeah, and very little, night experience, actual instrument conditions and stuff like that. So, I mean, he did okay, but there were a couple times there that it was like, don't kill us. I know you're the captain, but my responsibility to make sure that this plane doesn't get hurt. So.
Oh, it looked like you guys had fun on that trip.
Oh yeah. That was an amazing one. Singapore to Ohio is actually more than halfway around the world. So it was pretty cool, and hopefully if it works out, I'm supposed to recreate that trip almost the same. I've got a Navajo to deliver to Bangkok. I was supposed to have already done it by now, but it kept getting pushed back, and they were working on this, and then they had to paint it and all this other stuff. And so now hopefully I'm going to leave in about 2 weeks, and from Florida to Bangkok. That'll be fun.
Hey, at least it's not the Cheyenne 2.
Yeah. Those poor guys. We were on a trip when that thing was all going on, and we would keep getting updates from the production companies like, yep, they're still in Alaska. Oh, they made it, but then they had to turn around. Oh, they're broke down again. And we're like, oh, are you kidding me?
Well, that's what kind of surprised me this season, that Randy didn't come back. I know he said they didn't ask him to come back or something.
Yeah, when they first started doing the show, he has kind of an airplane delivery company as well. Not really delivery, airplane brokerage company, kind of like Corey's CB Aviation. And he wanted, he was kind of supposed to be getting equal billing for his business, but the production company decided let's just focus on CB Aviation, so he wasn't too thrilled with that, so decided not to come back. So, oh well, he's a nice guy. I liked him. I never flew with him, but
Life of TV, I guess.
Yeah.
What especially like you said, they cut so much of it, and what they show and the story they tell may not be identical to what you were intending or what really happened.
Oh, definitely. And that sometimes got really frustrating for us when we see the final product. We're like, that's not really what happened. It was accurate, but they want to make it exciting, so they'll skew it a little bit more. Like my role in the show became the bad guy. I'm the over-controlling jerk who yells at people and grabs controls.
The control freak.
The control freak, yeah, and which I kind of am, but I'll admit that. But so I kind of ran with that role, because your job is to be entertaining, not boring, and so that was one of the things. I had a lot of really hard time finding pilots for the show, because most pilots, a pilot's job is to be calm and cool and collected in an emergency situation. Well, that makes for boring TV. They need somebody who's going to go, oh my God, what the hell are we going to do? I don't know. Let's figure, and you gotta emote there. You gotta talk about your feelings, and you gotta make it a little dramatic. I mean, real stuff was happening, and you just kind of get used to saying, oh shit.
That reminds me of the Hudson, the landing on the Hudson, where Scully was just like, nope, we'll be in the river. It was just like he never lost that tone of voice he had the whole time. It was like, nope, we won't make it, not gonna make it, nope, we'll be in the river. And it was just like, that was it. It was really boring to listen to if you were expecting something exciting.
Yep, exactly. And that's what all pilots strive for. That cool as ice, calm demeanor in the face of tragedy. And when the cameras aren't on me, that's what I do. There's no sense. I mean, if you've got time to panic, you've got time to do something more constructive.
Right.
But I have to let everybody know what's going on. That was what made filming the show really interesting and difficult, because all the stuff that was happening was real stuff. And there was real emergencies we were dealing with, and at the same time, you'd get the director nudging the back, tell us what's happening. Like, well, we're about to die. Maybe I can find a way out of this. So it got easier as it went along.
Did that carry over into your personal life as you're, driving? Oh no, there's a stop sign coming. I'm gonna have to hit the brake now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. We get a lot of comments from pilots, and so many pilots just hate the show, hate it, because they're like, oh my God, they would never do that. They would never talk like that. It's like, why is he? He needs to shut up and let the other guy do. Well, we can't shut up. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to, this. And this is what the producers and the directors kept telling us, is the show isn't for pilots, because there aren't enough pilots in the world to make a good, decent market, audience. The show is for non-pilots. We're trying to let the world know what it's like being a ferry pilot, what it's like flying small airplanes around, and how you handle situations like that. So,
from all your times for the first 2 seasons, is there any one particular trip that sticks out and you go, oh God, I hope I never have to do that again?
Oh, not really. I loved every one of them. They're just fun. I mean,
you seem to get the easy ones.
Huh? Yeah, yeah. We didn't have. I didn't have too many problems. I mean, although, like the Navajo trip, which was actually the first one that we filmed. It shows up as like the second or third one. But, there was a lot of stuff that was breaking on that airplane, and and things that we had to deal with, like volcanic ash. There was a huge volcano erupting in Chile at that time, and we had to fly right through the volcanic ash, and we had to get a hold of the owner and get permission and saying, I don't, it might not be a good idea. He didn't care, all this. So many things in that show happened that nobody ever got to see.
Yeah, usually the volcanic ash and aviation are a bad mix.
Yep. Mostly they're worse on turbines, because the high temperature turns it to glass and it ruins the engine. On a piston, I couldn't find any research on what volcanic ash does to piston engines. I know they're really bad for turbines, but I couldn't, when I heard about it, I got on the internet and I searched and searched and searched, and nobody had any idea what it does. So we ended up flying through it. So
That must have been fun.
yeah, it was wild. But that was with the show. The directors and the editors were saying, with most reality shows, not much happens. So they're always constantly turning mountains into molehills. Any little thing, they've got to blow it way out of proportion because they just don't have that much to work with. With our show, they had the opposite problem. There was so much stuff. They ended up cutting some really great stuff. Like, in season 1, I got to go scuba diving in Aruba on some sunken airplanes. That was really cool. I got to ride it. Stu and I rode elephants in Thailand. If you remember from that episode, we got delayed in Thailand. Well, the next day we went out and rode elephants. It was super cool, and it was a real delay. We couldn't get permission to fly over Burma, but they cut that out. And when Stu was sick in Crete, we took a day off in Crete because Stu was so sick he just needed a day off, and I got to ride a motorcycle all over Crete, and that was really cool. And none of that made the show. All that cool stuff.
While Stu laying in bed suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, I was having a fun day. Poor Stu. He wasn't better. He finally went to the doctor a month after we got back from the trip to get finally fixed up. He had some serious bug. Yeah, so.
Wow. Craig?
No, I don't know. I guess, a lot of it in delivering the small aircraft, you got to do a lot of the jumps from location to location, where in my world, commercial aircraft were a lot longer of a flight. 777 can go from Seattle to Dubai directly without any problems. You said you had problems getting permission to fly over Burma. How often does it happen where you're flying? Does it ever change, like in flight, where you'll get, I don't know. I mean, especially it seems like right now there's so many problems in the world where they'll just be like, no, you can't fly here, reroute. Or are you okay because you're small enough?
We don't usually get rerouted in flight. Typically, where we run into problems is trying to file flight plans. We'll be someplace and they're like, nope, that. Like Europe, a lot of times gets so busy that they'll say, all right, well, your slot time is in 6 hours. Like, well, I can't wait 6 hours. I've got, I have other stuff to do. Or, like we after Kuwait and then Jordan, we wanted to fly over Israel, but we couldn't. They need a 5-day lead time and security background checks. And we even had met, that in Singapore, getting ready for the Cirrus to go, we happened to run into 2 gentlemen from the Israeli FAA, basically. Went and had dinner with them, had their cards. We were able to, we contacted them with email, and there was nothing they could do. So we had to fly all the way around Israel, all the way down, and then back up. We made this huge V just to go around Israeli airspace because there was no way in hell they were going to let us land there.
What was it like going from being co-pilot in the Cirrus to actually the pilot in command and teaching someone like Mauricio, who's used to flying at 40,000 feet and having a pressurized cabin?
It was interesting and better. It was kind of funny the way our roles were reversed, from the Phenom to the Cirrus, because he hadn't been in a small plane in like forever. So it was definitely interesting, and he had a hard time. He had a hard time with it. He liked to use that autopilot. As soon as you take off, he would push that button. And, there's one scene we're coming into Greenland, and it was a beautiful day, just gorgeous, and we had extra gas, so we went and flew around the glaciers for a while, and just
that was Narsarsuaq, correct?
Huh?
Narsarsuaq?
Yep, we were going to come into land in Narsarsuaq, and we're flying up this fjord, and it's just absolutely the most beautiful day in the world, and it's the place that pilots would just die to be. It's their dream spot to fly. And he's got the autopilot on, and I'm like, come on, why? Grab the stick, man, fly the plane. He's like, no, no, no. So, but yeah, it was fun.
Uh, every time I try to fly there in the simulator, I pick the real world weather. I get slammed into the ground on the short final just as I'm coming over, and
yeah, that's a tricky airport. That's a scary one.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never been to that airport, but I hear so much about it because it's the most popular diversion point when we're planning for oxygen routes between U.S. and Europe and back and forth. So when we're in standards meetings, that's always the scenario they give. Especially because I guess with the weather, you've got to come at it from that specific direction based on what the weather's doing, and you may have to route all the way around.
Yeah, there's only one approach and one way to land in that airport, regardless of the wind, because it kind of goes up this big valley and mountains on either side. The scary part about Saserac is they often don't know what the weather's really going to do. Like with the trip with Stu and I finally had happen to me what I'd been dreading for 20 years, which their forecast that day was for beautiful weather. And all of a sudden, I think we were only 90 miles or 100 miles out, and we got that call that said the airport had closed down. And I was like, oh, shit, because we barely had enough gas to go to Nook, which is another 200 and some miles away. But often the same weather system that'll take out Saserac will take out Nook as well. And then you're done. Then you're screwed.
Right.
I was like, Luckily, it improved enough that we get into Saserac, but it was a little pucker factor going on there.
What was St. Bart's like? I remember seeing a video of you talking about that approach.
St. Bart's was awesome. That was really cool. Very challenging, real short. You have to come in over this hill and this road. There's another thing that didn't make the show, except I think maybe on the final recap or something, but that was pretty tough. Luckily, I've got a lot of experience landing on short runways. The skydiving school that I own, we have our own airport, it's a little grass strip that's only 2,500 feet long, and it's got train tracks at one end and trees on the other, so it's kind of the same thing. So I've been in and out of there about 100,000 times, so coming into St. Bart's was kind of more of the same, but it's got a downward slope to it, and you can see all the skid marks of guys going off the end. The guys in the control tower said on average about 3 planes a year go off the end of that runway.
Would have thought it would have been higher than that.
Yeah, well, you have to get a special license to even attempt it. So you got to get with an instructor. He takes you in, and you do a whole bunch of landings before they'll ever let you try it yourself. So.
Guess that's sort of like the one that Pete did at Courcheville. You had to get some sort of special training for that one.
Yep, exactly.
That one's a nightmare too. I've shorted that one a few times.
Yeah, that's another one. You got to be right on. Am I locked up? There we go.
Yeah. Like everybody did there for a second. Looks like we're losing a connection to Canada.
Yep, I came back. So let's see. Well, I could talk a little bit about my book.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
I've written a book. Right now it's tentatively called I Fly Alone. It was originally Dead Reckoning, but there's a recent book by that title. But Basically, it started off just about a bunch of flying stories. You know, I've luckily or unluckily had a lot of